I am at the Badmo workshop with Ben, and we've just finished making this barrel. As far as we can tell, it's completely unique. No one else has made anything like it in the world, and you can't buy one.
But if you stick around, we'll show you exactly how to make one.
How's it going, Chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, this is Stillett, and we are at the Badmo workshop in Oregon. Ben was wonderfully kind enough to invite me out here to show me how to make some barrels. But in the process of doing so, I kind of threw a spanner in the works, and we ended up making something totally different.
We've made a unique, totally novel monstrosity just to his specifications, and you're gonna really love seeing this.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here in your workshop, mate.
What
Finally.
a joy. What a joy. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. All right, so we have the Badmotivator Barrels, but what's the general idea, man? What are we making here?
We have a lot to talk about. What we're looking for is a barrel of about 2 gallons, 8 liters, and a small amount of oak that approximates the amount of oak you would find in a similar volume taken out of a large oak barrel. And we've just pressed this oak barrel head into this can, and then the goal for the user is to let it sit for as long as they can.
Which is exciting for a home distiller. You can now age your spirits for a much longer period of time without over-oaking. You can get all that interesting barrel magic, oxidization, esterification, before you over-oak.
Absolutely.
Let's get stuck in. What's the first step in the process?
So you're going to want to start with some seasoned American white oak, like this one. This comes from a cooperage in Kentucky. It was aged out in the yard for 4 years. And it should be pretty obvious that we're going to have to do some cleanup on this board before it becomes a barrel. And of course, we're going to chop it down to size so that we're not wasting a bunch of it. And so let's start talking about thinking about the size and the cleanup of it before the toasting and the shaping of the barrel head. I have a barrel head here. A can for you here. This one is about 8 inches in internal diameter, or about 203 millimeters. So we're going to aim for a board that's slightly wider than that to give us a little leeway as we cut our circle and so on. So our first step is to take this to a chop saw and chop it to length. And you're really going to need to do something about that beard. That's a little bit of a hazard, so we're going to tie that up. Yeah.
Whirly tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's head over to the top floor, shall we?
We've cut a bunch of nice pieces of wood, but they're a little dirty.
Uh-huh.
We need to toast these, but we don't want to toast the dirty edge. So we're just going to run this over the jointer real quick to remove just a thin layer, enough to clean up the surface that is actually going to be on the inside of your barrel. If you don't have a jointer, you can make a mark with pencil and then sand off everything until all of the pencil mark is gone, and you know you've removed at least the surface layer of the board.
It's occurred to me through your tutelage that from this point on, you've already decided the inside and the outside of the piece of wood.
That's right.
Right.
There are a few considerations for deciding with a piece of wood which is going to be the outside and which is the inside. One of them, frankly, is aesthetics, but there are occasionally going to be places on the board that are defects on the edge of the board. You got to think about whether those are going to end up on the outside of the square we're making, so that they get cut off.
Or the joining pieces.
That's right. There may be a small knot or some other defect that isn't significant. It isn't going to impact the effectiveness of the board, but you don't want it on the outside. You don't want to look at it. Yeah. So yeah, you have to make a decision at the stage we were just at on which is going to be the inside and the outside. We're only going to be toasting the inside of the barrel, of course. We need the outside to remain untoasted.
Yeah.
So we only need to clean up the side we're about to toast.
And from here on in, we need to keep track of that the whole way through.
Yeah.
So you're very particular about always
We don't fumble it
placing them.
after
Yeah, now that we've done that.
Want to get some food?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'm thinking we got a lot of good options in Eugene. We've got really good Vietnamese banh mi sandwiches. We got great pizza, some excellent burgers. Any preference there?
I got you covered, man. I got a better idea. We have meat. We're in a workshop with a box full of meat.
And hungry.
Yeah, and hungry. Do we have a means to cook this? Thanks to ButcherBox for sponsoring today's video and for feeding us. ButcherBox gives you access to quality meats at affordable prices, and the best part is it gets delivered to your door, which is perfect if you hate shopping in crowded stores, especially heading into the holiday season. You can sign up for ButcherBox's curated boxes or choose your own cuts with their custom option. The boxes range in size from 24 meals all the way up to 60 meals a month. So you actually use a vacuum sealer to send barrels out, but you got pissy with the commercial ones, so what did you do?
They were a little slow, so I built a turbo vacuum.
Of course you did. My family has had most of our meat and groceries delivered for years now, and it saves us time and money, and the best part is we don't shop hungry at the store anymore. With ButcherBox, you get awesome membership benefits like membership deals and access to special things like their breakfast, barbecue, or keto bundles. You can also adjust your box options or frequency to fit your own needs. All right, Ben, so you do have 4 griddles for toasting wood. Do you really want barrels that taste like steak?
Or steak that tastes like barrels?
Thanksgiving dinner is one of the most planned dinners of the year. It can also be one of the most stressful. But not to worry, ButcherBox has got your back, delivering high-quality meats to your doorstep. Sign up today and get a 10 to 14 pound turkey for free and $10 off your first box. So use the code 10TURKEY with the special link in the description below.
Beefy.
Beefy. You've got a bunch of griddles here. I'm assuming this is because we're going to toast the wood.
I was thinking pancakes.
Yeah, right. Pancakes as well, that works.
But all we have around is wood, so let's make some of that.
Right. So
Yeah.
what's your general thoughts on toasting and how do you go about it?
So a long time ago, it was discovered that in the heating of the barrel staves in a traditional barrel, in order to bend them into the barrel shape, a lot of extra flavor was created by that heating as well. And so the evolution of barrel making included toasting the wood in order to increase the flavors that are available to whatever you put in the barrel. And I agree, and I want that in my barrels as well. So we toast the barrels. We have different toast levels, light, medium, and heavy. And we've done our best to figure out some kind of compromise among all of the disparate cooperages, styles, and strategies for toasting. I think we've landed on something that is light, medium, and heavy, like you would expect. We are only going to toast the bottom face, of course. We need the top face to remain untoasted, in part because it swells better and seals the barrel better. And it also just looks nicer.
This is the first point where I've got a sneaky plan to do something a little bit different than what you normally do.
I don't like sneaky plans, Jesse.
You know that I am all about crowbarring complexity in at every stage whenever I can.
And I'm a simple person.
Yeah, I find it fun. So I noticed that your barrels use 3 staves on average.
Typically.
I'm going to use a light, a medium, and a heavy toast. 3 different toasts in one barrel.
I'll allow it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Want to load something up?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you changing the temperature for each of these, or is it a time variable?
Yeah, I settled on a 400-degree griddle, and I settled on a 15-minute time, or a 30-minute time, or a 45-minute time.
Okay.
That's going to affect how deeply into the wood the effect travels. And of course, there's a complex relationship between how long it was at a temperature and what that temperature was. So I believe we get a kind of a light complexity out of the light toast, and also not a lot of deep toasty flavors. But on the heavy toast, we're getting a lot of complexity because the heat has traveled deeply into the wood.
Yeah. All right, so we need to wait for, what was it, 15, 30, 45 minutes?
Sounds
and
good.
we can move on to the next step.
Very good.
Awesome. All right, so we have toasted the oak for 15, 30, and 45 minutes. I have pinched 4 of each, and we're going to attempt to make 4 of these weird Chase the Craft barrels, which, guys, Ben is not going to be making these, because this is going to be an absolute pain in the ass for you to make.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So sorry guys, they're not going to be available. Like I said in the intro, you're going to need to make these yourself, which is, it's very generous of you, dude, to show us how to do this.
We've got wood, but the wood is problematic at this stage in a couple of ways. It's, the toasting process has warped the wood. The edges are still dirty. They're not at right angles to the faces. And also, we just need to plan out where on the barrel head each piece is gonna go. I have a gauge that I use that's approximately the same size as these barrels. And this helps me to see through at the wood, see problematic spots, and figure out an orientation for the wood that can avoid having problematic spots in the round barrel head.
But you're also looking at where the bung and the tap are gonna go, right?
That's right.
You don't want those sitting in the middle of a joint.
That's correct, yeah. And I just have little marks on my gauge that that show me the sort of acceptable range for how high up the spigot can go and how low down the bung can go.
Groovy. And then
So I see a little defect on this edge, or a stain or something I don't like. I'm going to make sure that that goes on the outside.
Right, because we can cut off.
That won't land in the barrel head. Let's just check that and make sure we've got, of course we have plenty of room, but let's just double check. Super, let's put that one aside and do the other. I'd probably flip that one around.
This one?
I probably would. There's a thing there I'm not sure about, and so I don't need to see that on the barrel head.
And why risk it?
Very good.
Same here?
Yes, that's good there.
The next step here is to tidy the face up and the butting edges. Is that correct?
Butt's a little different. This is an edge joint.
Right, an edge joint. Okay, yes. Incorrect carpentry lingo.
Yeah, so very simply, I'm just going to run the face over the jointer to establish that it is a plane. That makes it easier to do the next operation, which establishes a right angle or a complementary angle for the joint to come together.
Okay, so you're ensuring that they will come up next to each other.
Yeah, even if it isn't a right angle, they still make a full 180 degrees.
Right, I'm with you. So if they go through a little bit off, it doesn't matter because they. Yeah. Okay, understood.
Great.
Have at it, sir.
So the next step would be to drill some dowel holes in there that will allow the boards to come together with a planar faces. So we need perfectly repeatable dowel holes on every piece.
Okay.
So they're interchangeable. So I built this tool because the market didn't seem to have one that would do the job I needed to do. I built this tool to hold down the board, push the board into the fence, and then drive 2 drill bits a precise distance into the edge of the board. This speeds up my process a lot. There are a lot of ways you can do it by hand, a lot of hand tools that are going to do the same job reasonably well. You're just going to take more time doing it.
All right, so we've got these all pretty much ready to go together.
Yes.
And it's a fairly tight fit. The wood will swell later on, but you want a slight insurance policy now, right?
Couldn't hurt.
Okay, why not?
Why not?
So what's the plan, dude?
The plan is to apply a thin layer of beeswax, which is a common cooperage material, before we jam dowels in there, join them together a little bit, and put them in a press to really give them a good squeeze.
Awesome. All right, let's do it.
Shall we?
You want to show me how to do it, and then I'll
Absolutely.
I'll do one after you.
Right on. I have this waxing wheel set into a tub of melted wax. So all you have to do is just run it once over. You have a little thin stripe of wax on that. And we only need to do once per joint.
All right, and now we need dowels?
Yeah, let's tap some dowels in there. Why don't you go ahead and throw that piece into the press there and see how it comes out.
All right, so we in like so, and I imagine fingers the hell away from this.
Please.
Yeah. So 3 out of the 4 of these came together almost perfectly, and I can't see any light through them, but one of them is just a little slither. Are you worried about that at all, or is that gonna?
I'm terribly worried.
Uh-oh.
No. No, in my experience, most small gaps that let a little bit of light through still seal up. The wood can expand a fair amount.
As it soaks liquid up?
Absolutely. I've estimated something like 3% of its width in the across the grain direction. So
Okay.
And not only that, it can change shape a little bit in that process. So a small gap that's even in only one small part of the joint still often closes up nicely.
Like perfection is not necessary at this point in
Exactly.
time.
The way I think about it is I want to ask the wood to do as little as possible in terms of correcting my mistakes.
That's a nice way to think about it.
But it will correct some small mistakes.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so now we want to find dead center.
That's right. We're going to be putting this on a jig that cuts a circle and sands the circle really nicely. But we need to establish the center of that circle first and put a hole there so that they can rest on the pins on the other two. So naturally I have a gauge.
Of course you do.
And it makes it
to build things.
It makes it dead simple to just lay this right on there. You just hold this together, put it under the drill press and go in 10 millimeters. This is a circle cutting jig. The idea is this sled here will drive into the blade. It'll be stopped at the right spot by this stop bolt here. And the radius of this circle that you cut is established by moving this pin along a threaded rod. I've already worked out a pretty good radius. So
we don't need to
dial that in today. So the next step would be to just lay this square right onto the pin, the center pin, drive it into the bandsaw, and then start rotating it.
So we've got this cut out on the bandsaw. There's a small amount of kind of jitter and variation on the outside from what it was cut as, and small little areas where I messed up on the bandsaw.
It's not you, brother. It's just a bandsaw.
That's just the nature of a bandsaw.
Yeah.
And it's also rough. And as I understand it, your pots are slightly tapered.
Very slightly. 1% or less, but some.
Significant enough to think about.
Like I said earlier, the swelling of the oak will correct some small mistakes, but I'd like to ask it to do as little correction of my mistakes as possible. So I go ahead
like that analogy.
I build in the bevel into the sanding operation.
Okay, so we're going to sand these. What's the general idea, man? How are we going to do this?
Similar to the circle cutting jig, I have a circle sanding jig. This is a sled that is set to a particular radius away from the sandpaper by this stop bolt here. And using that, we can sneak up to a very, very precise radius so that we get just the snug fit we want.
Okay.
We should establish the bunghole and the spigot hole now. The bunghole is going to be reamed to a tapered shape. Spigot hole is going to be just used like it is. But we have a little gauge that's going to help us to mark the location of those. You get to choose which side is the top and which side is the bottom at this stage. I generally like the fatter stave to be at the bottom.
Okay.
And I like them to be, the axis of the two holes to be perpendicular to the joint lines. So here's my gauge, and I might use just a Sharpie. This is going to disappear, of course, under the drill. I might just say that's where the spigot hole is going to be, and that's where the bunghole, and that's where the spigot hole is going to be. Want to mark one up there?
Yeah, perfect.
Let's say, I don't know, bunghole?
Yeah.
Is that your bunghole right there?
That's what I was thinking.
That's your bunghole? Okay.
My bunghole, yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed that you marked my bunghole like that.
A lot of people say that.
The barrel heads are really starting to come together. I'm starting to actually be able to see, what they look like. We've got the two holes, one for the bunghole, one for the spigot. I'm assuming the spigot hole, we're just going to drive the spigot straight into this now.
Yep.
We're sorted.
Standard hole.
But the bunghole needs to be larger and tapered.
Precisely.
What's our plan?
The plan is to use a bunghole reamer.
I've always wanted to ream a bunghole.
Now's your chance.
Excellent.
This is a tapered cutter that's going to cut a 12.8 degree taper into the thing.
Okay.
And we want it to be just the same size as our 1-inch bungs that we also have a taper on.
Right.
So that they meet perfectly.
Equal and opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get to reaming.
Excellent. Okay, and you've got another little another clamp set up to hold these things.
You're starting to really know me, man. You're
Yeah.
starting to really understand me, man. Yeah, very good. All right, I'll show you how it goes.
Yeah. Time for the fun stuff, man.
Yeah, let's play with fire.
I see a blowtorch. I actually have a sneaky plan on something I want to do here, but I really want to see how you do it first.
The toast does a lot. It's useful for a lot of styles of spirits and for a lot of people to have a very thin layer of activated charcoal inside the barrel head to absorb large molecules that aren't tasty molecules. It acts like a charcoal filter.
Okay.
It's highly effective. It does add a little bit of flavor, which is appropriate to certain styles, but the most important function is as a filter. I have one ready to go, almost ready to go. It is important to have some kind of shield to prevent the burning of the edge of the barrel head. Okay. And I also use bolts with washers to protect the holes we've just dug in there. So let's get those in.
And just to be clear, guys, this is one that Ben has prepared earlier. These are not my special barrels.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 30 seconds on this one.
I'm going to tell you what I want. You're going to see if you can come up with a way to make it happen.
Right.
What I want is to have your whole matrix of char in one barrel. So I want to char it basically a gradient from level 3 on one side all the way across to level 1 on the other, running at right angles to the staves that are light, medium, high.
We'll do a little whiskey tic-tac-toe.
Exactly, he gets it.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, and I was planning on just doing it with the torch, you know, spending more time on one side.
We can do better. Yeah, we can do better.
You got an idea?
Absolutely.
All right,
yeah.
What's the plan, man?
A rusty piece of metal.
Oh, like a shield?
What do you think? Yeah, let's give that a shot.
Okay. Yep, is that gonna get hot?
I might get a little hot.
Do you want to get some like vice clamps or something to? Or your mitts at the very least.
Mitts, yeah.
We've done the fun stuff. Now we need to do the necessary stuff, I guess, which is this
plumbing.
Is not going to do a very good job of holding whiskey with holes.
No.
So what's the plan, man? What goes in first?
Well, spigots now.
Okay.
There's our wrench. It's designed to hold this just so. Yeah. Most of the way. Try not to take our arms or wrists off. That thing is a high torque drill, so. And then this is used to just correct the position of it. You can only go clockwise.
Right, of course.
And there you have it.
So it's a relatively tight fit on the thread.
Very.
We've basically drilled a pilot hole for it.
Mm-hmm. Undersized.
And then the oak's going to expand.
That's right.
As it's wet.
You got it. You want to do yours?
Sure.
All right,
yeah.
Ready.
Ben, we are partway through making this barrel, and it's coming together excellently. I have noticed, however, that you have some very specific equipment around this workshop. Possible to do it with normal household woodworking tools?
Not just possible, I've done it many times. My first barrels were made with very simple tools. I have a friend here.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is Otis, and he's in the same state I am.
Welcome, Otis.
We met a lot of years ago.
Nice to meet you, man.
And he expressed a lot of interest in doing what I'm doing, and I jumped at the chance of sharing what I had already learned.
We had a quick talk off camera, which is why I said come in and get in the video. And there's one thing that you said that you're doing quite differently, which is you're not using a spigot.
Yes.
So what are you using instead?
I use stainless steel bolts.
Okay.
I actually have made them with spigots. I made a lot of jigs that Ben had showed me how to make through his videos online. And I wanted something simpler that just wouldn't require as much work.
Awesome.
So straight holes through, stainless steel bolts, a little bit of beeswax on the thread, and I've been using them for probably about 3 to 4 years with the bolts. Haven't had any leakage problems at all.
We're gonna get these barrels finished up, but I think when I get home, I'm gonna have to, at some point, try making a couple of these with the tools I have available. One last step, I think, an insurance policy before you actually get this thing pressed into and turn it into a barrel.
You got it. Just like we did between the staves, as a little insurance, we're going to put a thin stripe of beeswax around the edge. And when we press it into the can, if there were any tiny gaps, they'll be well covered up by the wax. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a barrel head and a stainless barrel. This needs to go into there, and I imagine that you could do it with a mallet.
Have done it with a mallet.
Yeah, but knowing you, I know you've got a jig.
So I have a shot press that I prepared a little bit to make life easier for me. The essence of it though, it's just a jack on pneumatic power, so I don't have to crank it. And I've set up a follower to spread out the force and to make sure that it goes only the right depth into the can and then stops. Two more pumps. There it is. I think at this stage you have to hold it like a baby.
We made a thing.
Yeah, we did. That's a beautiful thing right there.
Awesome.
And you are basically done. At that stage, you could just fill it with spirits. There's only one more detail before we fill it for a test, which is to cauterize the bunghole, which is pretty fun.
All right.
But essentially, most of you at this stage are done.
Right.
You can plug it up with spirits in it and put it away for, however long you need to.
Very cool.
If you can't tell, guys, I am pretty damn pleased with myself at this point in time. And I have to say, these barrels really are a very cool innovation for the hobbyist distiller. If you're interested in picking one up and buying one from Badmo Barrels instead of making your own, make sure you check the link in the description down below where you can sign up for Ben's waiting list.
We now have 4 barrels put together with the special Stillet.
One of a kind.
Char, I don't know what to call it.
Unique monsters.
Yeah, have you guys got a name on what to call this char? Because I'm struggling to come up with anything creative. What we did do is cauterize the bungholes.
That was fun.
Yeah, I was a bunghole cauterizing virgin until today.
No longer, Jesse.
No, not anymore. We also filled them with water. Why do we do that? What's the plan?
Well, I don't like to send a barrel out unless I've tested its tightness, so I fill it with water and I watch it dry, and if there are any leaks, I hold it for another day, and if it seals up real nice, then I call it good, and I clean it up and I send it on its way.
Is there anything else you'll do to these barrels before posting them out to people, or are you done there?
Sure. There's a little wax squeeze out on the crown where the barrel head went in. I'm going to clean all the wax off real nice. There's roughness to the grain because of the water that's been on it. I'm going to sand that down really nicely, take care of any little blemishes that might have occurred. I'm also going to brand it, and I'm going to put a serial number and its treatment. In other words, if it's a heavy toast, I'll put an H. If it's a char 2, I'll put a 2, so that I never forget and no one ever forgets what was done with that barrel.
Awesome. And they're all individually numbered too.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty special.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with yours though.
Yeah.
It could be that we call this number 1.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's up to you. But what I do know is you've got something a little special to brand this barrel with, because we've got a little something else that we've been working on that no one really knows about.
Shh, don't tell, Jesse.
It's coming soon, guys. I promise. So, Ben, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've had a blast on every aspect. It's been great to meet you in person finally. It's been great to hang out here and go through the whole process. Thank you, dude.
You're very welcome. I feel the same way. It's been a joy. It's been a highlight of my year, I think.
Awesome. So, we legitimately hope, and this is kind of crazy coming from the guy that makes these barrels, but he legitimately hopes and gets pleasure from you guys doing this yourself.
Absolutely. At least as much as I get pleasure out of making nice barrels and delivering them to people who want them. I love it when people share their progress, share their innovations, advance the art, and just show off. I love it.
Yeah. Ben's got a bunch of documentation on the Home Distiller forum, so feel free to jump over there and find some more information, post pictures of the barrels you make. If Home Distiller's not your vibe, we get that, we understand, and if you still want to show the barrels off that you've made, or even the ones you've bought and filled, I guess Instagram is probably the best way to do it. So throw a photo up on Instagram, tag me, Chase the Craft on Instagram, and then hashtag Badmo, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. This has legitimately been some of the most fun I've had making a video, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. If you have, please give us a thumbs up, drop comments, questions in the comment section down below, and that helps me know that I should come back to Oregon, I guess. We can do something else crazy.
Do it, people.